Hello everyone, my name is Uberswe, and in this video I'll be showing you 50 steps towards becoming a crate mod expert. This video is a continuation of my previous video, 50 steps to starting a new Minecraft world with the crate mod. In that video we did a lot of the basics with the crate mod all the way up to crafting brass ingots, and that's where this video picks up. As you can see, I'm still in the same base, but I've been mining a bit, letting the farms run, and I'm working on making my house look better. Huh. Is that BigSwedish? Where is he going? Hey, BigSwedish, what are you doing on the server?
I was preparing a little bit for, I'm preparing for an achievement to make a long journey, across the world. I still need to get some more supplies. I actually have to go into the nether right now, so can't really stick around and chat, but I'll come back, and you can join me for the trip if you want.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Good luck in the nether.
Thanks. I'll be right back. No worries.
And as you saw there, BigSwedish will be joining us for this video, and there may be some clues here and there as to what he's up to, so be on the lookout for those. Now, back to the guide. For step 1, I went ahead and I set up a vanilla dripstone lava farm here. This will be our infinite lava source to help power our factory. We also need to make some copper sheets, and with those copper sheets we can now make pipes. To make a pipe we need 2 copper sheets and a copper ingot, just like so on the crafting table. Then using a copper pipe and a cog we can make a mechanical pump. And as with a lot of the crate items, you can hold W to ponder the item, and this will show you a visual of how the item can be used. So as you can see here, mechanical pumps work with cogs, and they're able to move fluids through a network. We will also need some fluid tanks. These are created by taking copper sheets above and below a barrel. Now back to our dripstone lava farm, we can put some copper pipe under the cauldrons like so. This will allow us to extract the lava automatically as the cauldrons fill up. Then we can take our mechanical pump and attach it to any pipe like so. The direction doesn't matter right now, we'll fix that later once we hook up power to it. And now we can go ahead and place our fluid tank, placing several together next to each other like so. We'll actually connect them. And here I'm going to use 8 of them to make a fluid tank that holds 64 buckets of lava. Next, I'm going to dig a small hole like so, and this is where we're going to place our water wheel, and we need to make sure we place it in the right spot like so. We can then use our wrench to make it face the right way like so. Then we can connect a large cogwheel to our water wheel, and that will power our pump like so. And now we can use our wrench to flip the direction of our pump so that lava goes out of the cauldrons and into our fluid tank. And there we go. We now have an infinite lava source which will slowly fill up to 64 buckets so that we always have that available whenever we need lava. And this should actually be enough to power a small steam engine forever, but we'll get to that part later. Now we're going to go ahead and make copper casings, and to make those we first need some strip logs. And we can use our saw that we set up in the previous video to make those strip logs like so. We'll then place these strip logs on the ground. We'll then hit the stripped log with the copper ingot to make it into a copper casing. And then we can pick these up using a wrench like so. With a copper casing and a dried kelp, we can now make a spout. And this spout will allow us to put fluid onto or into things such as a bucket. And I'm going to go ahead and connect this to our fluid tank that we just put up. So I'm going to use a cogwheel here to get some power to the back of this fluid tank, like so. And then we'll place a mechanical pump right there and make sure to flip it quickly so that lava doesn't spew everywhere. And then we're just going to connect our pipe to this mechanical pump. And finally place our spout right here, like so. And then I'll go get a depot to put under our spout, and we're ready to test this thing. So let's go ahead and hit our mechanical pump with our wrench, and lava should now start flowing to our spout here, even if it's very slowly. There we go, lava's starting to fill up, and we now have a full bucket. So let's find a bucket in our inventory and we'll just take one. You could put down multiple, but we'll just put this one down and you can see that it's now filled with lava. Next, we're going to make something that's super useful. We're going to go ahead and make a toolbox. This one requires leather, a chest, golden sheets, and a cog. So we'll go ahead and craft that and put it in our inventory. And we can now place this anywhere we'd like. Use right click to open the inventory and you'll see 8 different slots for different items here. Each slot can hold up to 256 of the same item. So now we can go ahead and put all of our cogwheels in here. I can put all the shafts in here and the gearboxes. Just everything I need for building. And even if you remove all the items in a slot, the toolbox will remember the items in that slot and you can just click on it to remove it. Use the Alt key to access your toolbox. This works with a range of up to 10 blocks by default. And then just click on any item to add it to your bar, and a maximum of 32 will be added. And then as you use the item, it gets refilled from the toolbox as long as you're within range. And the toolbox is also filled back up as you break items. If you want to put the items back, you just hold Alt again and use the arrow keys, or use this button here to return items to the toolbox. This is super useful when building things, and I'll be using it throughout my video. You could even have multiple toolboxes for different types of items and use them at the same time using the Alt key. When you're done using your toolbox, just left click on it to pick it up and it'll be in your inventory. One thing I forgot to mention in my previous video is that we can use a mixer without the need for a heat source to make double the andesite alloy. So we just throw some zinc or iron nuggets in here along with andesite, and then andesite alloy will be produced. We can also go ahead and place a depot using our toolbox outside of the mixer here, and items will automatically be deposited as they're created. And then we can grab our andesite alloy, and as you'll see, we now have 7 andesite alloy, and we got that from just 7 nuggets and 7 andesite. And if you look at the recipe, that's a lot more efficient than using 2 iron nuggets and 2 andesite, or 2 zinc nuggets here, to make 1 andesite alloy. Instead, we're getting double by only using 1 of each. Now, as I showed you previously, we already have a machine set up to make stripped logs over there. And now we're going to go ahead and make a machine to make andesite casings, along with any other type of casing for that matter. So I'm just making a shaft down here to give us some power to our new machine. And then we're just going to go ahead and place a deployer right here like so. And go ahead and turn that to face the right direction like so. Then we'll go ahead and connect our power upstairs here in the attic. And the easiest way to do this is just use a few gearboxes and then a few shafts to connect the power that we already have. And now we got the artificial intelligence achievement for moving a deployer. And as you can see, it is now working. However, we're not done yet. We'll need to place a depot under our deployer and then a chute above it, like so. You could give the items directly to the deployer, but I prefer having a barrel and a chute up there. And then we'll use some stairs to kind of cover this up nicely. And that's it. Now we can put some andesite alloy in our barrel there, and it'll go down into the chute into our deployer. And then we'll go ahead and get some stripped logs from over here. And we just need to put that on our depot. And there we go. Now we have now automated andesite casings. We can also use this to make a new type of casing. So I'll put some brass ingots in the top. And we now get brass casings. And I think I got my count wrong, so we're going to put another brass ingot in there. And there we go. We've now used all our stripped logs to make casings, and we have some brass casings and andesite casings. The brass casing is another fundamental block that we'll need for a lot of recipes with the crate mod. Now, this is our mining drill contraption that I built in the previous episode, and I've just been running around mining a lot with this between the videos, as there's been a lot of time that passed in between them. And as you can see, it's pretty much full with stuff. So we're going to go ahead and put a portable interface on the top of this, and that will allow us to empty the contraption, which is going to be a lot easier than emptying it manually. Now, I'm going to have to make sure that I glue this portable storage interface onto my contraption. Then we'll set up another portable storage interface 2 blocks away so that they can kiss later. I'm going to go ahead and dig a small hole here where our chest is going to go. Bam, bam, and there we go. Now we need to get stuff into our chest using a chute, and that should be all we need. So items will go from the portable storage interface into our chute and then into our chest. So by activating this, we can now see it in action. We have the interfaces kissing, and we can see that items are definitely going through our chute there and then going into our chest. Now, obviously, this chest isn't going to fit all of these items, but I'll come back to this a little bit later once we've gotten a little bit further in our progress. We are going to do something with these items. Another thing that I did between the previous video and this one is that I dug out a space beneath our main base to house some additional machines, as the space above wouldn't be large enough to fit all the machines that I want to build. Now, a ladder to get down there doesn't feel very creative, so I'm going to go ahead and build an elevator. So I begin by building a platform using some andesite casing, and we also need to get a gearshift. And what a gearshift does is basically when it receives a redstone signal, it's going to change the direction of the rotation. So as you can see here via the lever, the redstone signal is sent, and it's changing the direction of the rotation. So on is one direction, off is another. And to make that, we just need a cogwheel, some andesite casing, and redstone dust. And that will make a gearshift. I'm now going to go ahead and place down a rope pulley right here. This is what's going to connect to our andesite casing platform, and I can remove a ladder here to actually make room for the platform itself, like so. And this is what's going to move. Now, next to the rope pulley, I'm going to put the gearshift like so. And then we're going to get some power from the roof above, like I did with the andesite casing machine. Next, I removed the rope pulley temporarily, just so I can glue the andesite casings together like so. And then we can just put the rope pulley back. And then we can put a lever on top of our gearshift like so. And of course, head upstairs to the attic again to give this all some power. I also need to clear out the ladders down here so that the andesite casing platform can actually move freely. And once I've done that, I can actually test out our elevator by flipping the lever. And we can see the platform now going down to the bottom, and if I flip the lever again, it's going to go up to the top. Now we're going to make some redstone links for wireless redstone. So the first thing we need is some redstone torches. Then we take some brass casings with a redstone torch on top, and that makes redstone links. So we can now go ahead and remove our lever from the gearshift, and then we're going to put our redstone links on top of it instead. Just like so. Now, redstone links can either send or receive signals. We want this to receive signals, so we need to right click with the wrench on it. And now you'll see that it has that white circle, which means it's receiving signals. Then you'll see that it has 2 slots for frequencies. I'm going to set oak planks to both slots. And this should be unique in a 256 block radius, because that's the range of these things. I'll now go ahead and place down another redstone signal here. This is going to be our sending signal. I'm going to use the same frequencies and put down a lever. And now you'll see that this lever is going to activate the other redstone link when this redstone link gets power. And we can now control our elevator wirelessly. This is great, but if I'm down in the basement, I still can't turn the elevator on or off. So we still need to do a little bit of work. So to do that, we're going to use something called a powered toggle latch. This is a lever which is going to turn on whenever it gets a redstone signal and then turn off again if it gets another redstone signal. So basically every time we press a button, it flips back and forth. To make this, you need some stone, redstone torch, and a lever. And there we go. Now we have a powered toggle latch. And I don't really have a good spot for this, so I'm going to put it over here in the corner, use our wrench to rotate it like so. Then I'm going to go ahead and put down a redstone link because the signal is going to go where that arrow is right there. This frequency is going to be the frequency of our button, which is going to be 2 redstone dust like so. And we want to make sure to set this to receiving. Then I'm going to put down another redstone link, and when the button is pressed, the toggle latch will flip back and forth, and this is going to give a signal to this redstone link, which is going to be on our oak plank frequency. We can actually turn this on or off manually like so, and you'll see that it is actually working. as the elevator will go up and down. So now I'm down in the basement and I'm going to place a button right there. The redstone signal will go through the log to this redstone link, and we need to make sure that this is set to the redstone dust frequency that I had above. And now when we press this button, the elevator should go up. And pressing the button again should make the elevator go down. And it's working. Now we just need to go ahead and add our button up here. So I'll do the same thing, put down a redstone link. That's going to have the redstone dust signal, and then another button here. And now we can go ahead and test that out. We can press the button here, and we'll ride down in our elevator to the bottom. And then when we press the button down here, we'll ride up again. And that's how you make a basic elevator. Next, we're going to go ahead and make some mechanical crafters. To make these, you need electron tubes, a brass casing, and some crafting tables. And we're basically setting these up to make crushing wheels, so we're going to need 21 of them. And it's good to know that every time you make them, you get 3 of them, so you actually don't need like 21 electron tubes or anything like that. And we can go ahead and ponder these with W, and it will show an explanation of how they work. Basically, anything you can craft in a crafting table, you can craft with these, and also the larger create mod recipes that are available. For the crushing wheels, we're going to need 3 at the bottom, and then 3 rows of 5, and then finally 3 at the top like so. Then we need to give these mechanical crafters some power. So I'm just getting the rotational energy we have above and connected them like so using a cogwheel. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these are quite power hungry. So we can actually go and check our stress and, oh, we're actually perfectly stressed. So we got an achievement for that. But we're using all of our 4096 SU now, which is not really great because we want to keep expanding our factory. And this is because each mechanical crafter is using 128 SU, as you can see here. Now, to actually craft something in these, we need to make sure that these arrows here, or whatever you want to call them, the lanes, they all need to flow to the same direction so that everything ends up in the same spot. So I'm turning them here using my wrench so that all the items we put inside our mechanical crafters are going to be moved down to the barrel that is in the bottom left there. If you don't do this, then nothing is going to be crafted when you put items in here. Now, to craft crushing wheels, we're going to need some planks, a stone block, and some andesite alloy. And you just put it in this configuration here. We'll put a stone in the middle, some wooden planks around it, and then finally the outside is just filled with andesite alloy. Once all the items are put in, we'll see a pretty cool crafting animation. And there we go. We now crafted our first 2 crushing wheels. Now, to solve our power issue, we're going to go ahead and craft a steam engine. To do this, you need some golden sheet, andesite alloy, and a block of copper. I'm going to go ahead and place this on the other side of our basement. So the first thing we'll put down is a campfire. Then we're going to get some fluid tanks and put 4 on top of our campfire. We're also right underneath my tree farm, so that's what you're hearing if you heard some noise there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then finally we have 4 fluid tanks. And that's the minimum for a steam engine. We can now take our steam engine and put it on the side of the fluid tanks like so, and we now have a boiler. So you can see we have a small size, we have low heat, but we don't have any water, and we're going to fix that in the next step. We can go ahead and connect a shaft to our steam engine like so, and that's all we basically need. Now we just need to feed it water. To feed it water, we're going to connect a mechanical pump like so. And then I'm just going to take some pipe and connect it down like so. I'm going to right click on this to make it transparent so I can see when it's getting water. And then I'm going to remove these blocks here. This is so I can place down an infinite source of water, which will feed our boiler. Now, another thing we need is a hand crank. To make a hand crank, you just need 3 wooden planks and then an andesite alloy. And that will make the hand crank, which is used to power machines manually. So we'll go ahead and place a large cog right here, and then we can take our hand crank and just hook it on there. And that's going to be able to power our pump with water. And as you can see, we now have a working steam engine. And this is going to give us about 2000 SU of power, and then it stopped. So as long as we're here powering it manually, it's going to work, but I can understand that that's also not optimal. The reason it's stopping is because it's not getting any more water. So to give it a constant supply of water, I'm going to go ahead and connect some gearboxes and shafts, and then use a clutch to disconnect them like so. This will allow us to start the boiler with our hand crank here, and then once it gets going, we'll flip the lever there, and that's going to make it so that our boiler is self-powered. So the problem is we didn't have enough speed for our pump, so I'm going to go ahead and do some gear ratios here to kind of speed up this shaft here, and that should give us enough rotation to power our pump to give our boiler enough water. So flip the clutch back, let's hand crank it again. The boiler starts, we flip the lever, and the pump has flipped to go in the wrong direction. It's not pulling water out of our engine, so we need to put down a gearbox here to change the direction. And let's start with the hand crank again here. Started, and then we flip our lever, and now it should finally be running on its own. So as you can see, we now have 2048 SU available here. I believe 512 SU is actually going to go to our pump, but it has gotten us another 1500 SU without doing anything basically. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this to the rest of our network. And if we go upstairs to check our total stress, we can now see that we have 1536 SU available. So that gives us a little bit more room to play with. Another thing we can do to reduce the stress on our network is actually to disconnect all our mechanical crafters when we're not using them. So I went ahead and removed the cog there. I'm going to set up another stressometer down here. So as you can see, we have 4224 SU without having the mechanical crafters. And instead, I'm going to use a clutch to turn them on and off, like so. And then we just need to fix our wall here. Using a stone cutter and some regular glass, we can make frame glass. This glass connects to transparency to make like one giant block, as you'll see later. Now we're going to start making an iron farm. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a clutch right here on the wall with a lever so I can turn it on and off, like so. We're going to be using lava, and since my base is made of wood, I've put some stones in the ceiling to prevent it from catching on fire there. Next, we're going to need to take some andesite casing and 3 iron nuggets, like so, to make an encased chain drive. These are blocks that basically share rotational power between each other. We're also going to need to make an encased fan, and to make the encased fan, you're going to need a shaft, andesite casing, and a propeller. And to make the propeller, you're going to need andesite alloy and 4 iron sheet. So coming back to our clutch, I'm going to put the encased chain drive, one next to it, one above. And then to connect to our clutch, I'm going to put another 2 like so. I'm also going to want another encased chain drive here on the edge, but I'm going to make it face down because that's going to be powering our crushing wheels later. So as you can see, these encased chain drive all share the rotational power. And I'm going to go ahead and make a row of 8 of them here at the top. That's going to power our mechanical drills later. And if you were to flip one the wrong way, as I did here, you can just right click on them with a wrench and it will flip them back to the right way. And now we're ready for our mechanical drills, so let's put out 8 of them like so. I'm also going to use some frame glass to keep our lava and our water in the right place. You don't need to use frame glass, I'm using this for demonstration purposes mainly. You can also build this out of cobblestone or pretty much any other material that isn't flammable. I'm also putting up some temporary cobblestone to help me reach different places here. But all I'm doing here is basically making a lane where the stone can be created and then broken by the drills. And then a lane where the cobblestone will kind of flow down. And that's going to be right here on top of this glass. This is what the finished box will look like once you're done. And at the very end of this lane here, I'm going to place a bucket of water. This is going to push all the cobblestone down the lane. I'm going to go ahead and waterlog all the drills by right-clicking on them with the water bucket like so. And then at the top here above each drill, I'm going to place lava. And that's what's going to create our stone like so. And as you can see, it's already being broken by the drills. When you're finished, everything should look like this basically. I can also go ahead and remove the cobblestone, which was used for scaffolding basically. Now we're going to connect the rest of our contraption, so I'm going to put a gearbox right under that encased chain drive that we had facing down. So I'm going to put a shaft on top of that. And we're going to bring this rotational power a bit forward to where we want to have our crushing wheels. At the end here, I'm going to place another gearbox, which is going to give rotational power to our belt. And we can go ahead and turn off our clutch here. This will show us if the gearbox is rotating the correct way. And as you can see, we have some leakage now, but that's okay because we're not done building this. So let's go ahead and turn this off again. And the water should go away. We can now go ahead and put down some shafts right here and connect those with a mechanical belt like so. Then I'm going to put a chute right at the end where the cobblestone is going to fall. And I'm going to go ahead and use some frame glass to just cover up this area so we don't have water like spilling out all over the floor and everything. We can even make it one layer thick so that we have no chance of like objects and stuff falling out. Next, I'm going to go ahead and place one gearbox on one side and one gearbox on the other side around our belt like so. And that's where our crushing wheels are going to go. So by having the gearboxes in this placement will ensure that our crushing wheels are spinning in opposite directions. They could be spinning in the wrong opposite direction, but at least it will be in the opposite direction. I'm just going to walk around a little bit like this so you can get a good view of what it looks like in case you want to try to build this yourself. But it's a pretty basic iron farm setup. Next, I want to go ahead and put down an encased fan right here. And we're going to go ahead and connect that with encased chain drives once again. And basically the way this is going to work is that our crushing wheels are going to make gravel. And the gravel will then fall down in front of our encased fan here. And what we want to do is we want to wash the gravel because this gives us a small chance of getting iron nuggets. And to wash the gravel, we want to put down some water in front of our encased fan. You don't actually need 2 water blocks, but you know, why not? And that's all you need to do for our most basic demonstration. Now we can go ahead and turn this off. I did get some cobblestone right there. Oh, and something is not working, so let's go ahead and check what we missed. I think we're missing a shaft that's gonna need to connect to our belt right here. And once we connected that, we can see that our crushing wheels are now spinning and gravel is being generated. And the little white particles there to the right is telling us that gravel is being washed. So you can see here the cobblestone is actually falling down the chute here and then going into our crushing wheels. Now, this isn't the most optimal setup, but it is a simple and working setup, so that's why I like to demonstrate it this way. If you want to go really efficient, there's lots of other guides. Now, if you look here where the gravel is being washed, you'll see that we definitely have some flint, and if we look really closely here, you can see that there are a few iron nuggets already. So our iron farm is definitely working. Now, while testing, I realized that a setup like this should generate about 60 iron ingots per hour. It's not a lot, but it's a good amount to get started with. Now, using some electron tubes, a brass ingot, and dried kelp will allow us to make brass funnels. This will allow us to get the items from our washing setup so that our items are not just laying in water forever. So let's make 2 of those. Using a white wool and 2 iron nuggets, we can also make a filter. This is useful so we can specify which items should go through our funnels. So by holding the filter in our hand and right clicking, we can open up this menu and then we can just drag flint to it and iron nuggets, for example, and set the options to allow list. We also don't want to filter by any kind of attributes or any kind of data like that. So we just have this option set to ignore data. And then when we're done, we can just click the check mark here. When you open your inventory, you can also hover over the filter to see what kind of options you've set. I'm going to go ahead and break the frame glass we put down and put a chest here instead like so. And then on the back of this chest, we'll be able to put our brass funnel just like so. And then on this brass funnel, we can go ahead and put our filter. We also need to go ahead and use our wrench to set this brass funnel to take items instead of outputting items. And if you remember what I set the filter to, this brass funnel is now only going to accept iron nuggets and flint, which means that it will not take the gravel, which is going to lay in front of it like so. And if we go ahead and check our chests now, we should have had some gravel that has already been washed. And we'll see that we have some flint and an iron nugget. So this is working. Now currently I don't need flint, so I'm going to put some netherrack down and then light it on fire. Now don't do this. I just put a brass funnel on the side of my chest and it dumped all my items out of it. So that's not something you want to do. As you can see, the chest is now empty. I could have given the funnel a redstone signal and it would not output any items, but now it's a little bit too late. But what we need to do is put a flint right here in the filter slot so that only flint is dumped into the flames. So now that that's set, I can flip this back the other way. As you saw, some flint came out of there and we're only left with iron nuggets now. Next, we're going to make some precision mechanisms. To make precision mechanisms, we're going to need 3 deployers in a row, like so. And they need to face down. I also placed down a belt down here, which is 5 in length. And then I need to bring down some power to move this belt and also power the deployers. And after placing a few more gearboxes, we have power. Now I'll go ahead and give some iron nuggets to this last deployer here. The reason I'm doing this is because the process for making a precision mechanism involves having a deployer place a cogwheel, large cogwheel, and then an iron nugget on top of a gold sheet, and repeating this process 5 times. So we place our large cogwheels here in the middle and our cogwheels there at the end, and we have everything set up to start our process. We just need some golden sheets right here, and I'll just throw these golden sheets onto the belt like so, and we'll see that our precision mechanisms are starting to form. But this is not the finished shape, this is only halfway done, so I need to throw them on the belt a few more times. I think I'm only going to do this one at a time. I might have started with a few too many here. And here we go, this should be the 5th time going through, and now you should have a golden nugget. Now the reason for this is that if we look at the recipe, you'll see that there's a random salvage chance of 20% here. So what we got was random salvage. If we try this process again, we'll now see that we did in fact get a precision mechanism on the 2nd try. There you go. That's all you need to do to make a precision mechanism. We can, however, automate this a little bit more by using a filter just for the golden sheet like so. And then if I put a golden sheet in here like so, we'll let it go around 1 time through the process here. And that will give us the unfinished mechanism to add to our filter. Now if we put our filter back on the funnel here, and then put our unfinished precision mechanism back on the belt, you'll see that it keeps going around all the way until it's finished. And there we go. We now have a precision mechanism in our chest. One thing we can make with the precision mechanism is a mechanical arm. We just need some andesite alloy, brass sheets, precision mechanism, and a brass casing. And there we have a mechanical arm. I'm going to go ahead and use this to feed our boiler with some more heat. To do that, we need to remove our campfire that we had, and instead we're going to place a blaze burner where it was. I'm also going to use some fluid pipe to bring lava down to our basement, and then connect that to a spout like so. It does fill a little bit slowly, but it will be enough for what we're going to use this for. I put down a depot and a brass funnel like so, and now I'm just right clicking on them to tell the mechanical arm where to pick up or drop off items. So what we want to do here is we want the arm to pick up our lava bucket and place that into our blaze burner like so, and then deposit it back into our funnel right here. And if we put an empty bucket on the filter of the funnel, it should all work. We can now flip the lever and it will be self-powered again. So it's still using 512 SU there, and we can now connect it back to our main network like so. Oh, I think it's spinning the wrong way again. So we need another gearbox to change the direction, and then we can put our clutch back. Where did it go? There it is. So putting the clutch back and then the lever, of course. Now we have it connected to our main network. And if we check the boiler, we should now have 16,000 SU. This is thanks to the increase in heat. And if we take a look at our mechanical arm, we can see that it is actually refueling the blaze burner when it runs out of fuel. Now, one issue that we're having is that our tree farm is actually filling up with materials. It's because it's been running for a long time, and now there's nowhere to put stuff. Now, I could just empty the chest manually, but what we want to use is a stockpile switch, which is created from a content observer, which requires redstone comparator, a brass casing, and a electron tube. So let's go ahead and make a content observer, just like so, and then we can put that in the crafting table to make our stockpile switch. Now I'll just place the stockpile switch so that the wide area faces the chest, and then we can go look at the settings. So as you can see here, it's going to output a redstone signal if the chest is above 75%, which is the current state of this chest. You can change the percentages, you could even invert the signal if you wanted to, but that's all we need for now. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a redstone link here, and I'm going to set the frequency to the oak saplings here. And then on our clutch down here, which was previously a Gearshift for some reason, I must have been tired when I first put it together, but we'll set that to receiving and also be connected to the oak sapling frequency. We can also use the wrench on the mechanical bearing here to set these blocks to only place if the bearing is broken. This will prevent our saplings from being broken when we stop the machine. Now, another useful thing we can make with precision mechanisms is the speed controller. That's just one precision mechanism and a brass casing. I'm actually going to go ahead and add this to our iron farm that we created earlier because our crushing wheels are a little bit slow compared to how much cobble we're generating. So I'm putting a gearbox here, then placing down our speed controller, and then connecting a large cog to the gearbox. By default, our speed controller is set to 16 RPM, so as you can see, it's spinning a little bit slow here. But we'll go ahead and connect this back to our belt the way we had it before. And our belt started going in the wrong direction, so I'm actually going to scroll on the speed controller to make the belt go in the right direction there. And now that we see that everything is working, we can go ahead and speed this up. You can have a negative or a positive value here. I just have negative because that's what's working for me. And we now get an achievement for running the crushing wheels at maximum power, so each wheel is actually taking 2000 SU. Now, one warning about crushing wheels, I was testing them earlier, and it's very easy to get hurt or even die by them, and it's not a lot of fun, so be careful around crushing wheels. I also went ahead and added more sails to our windmill. I did forget to record the process of doing this, but the video is already getting pretty long, so maybe it's a good thing. Our windmill is now giving us 8000 SU, and it actually doubled in speed, so I'm going to put another speed controller up here just to manage that. Next, we're going to modify our existing iron farm here to make some andesite for us as well. So we're going to go ahead and stop wasting all of this flint that we have and just rebuild this last section here. Because if you didn't know, you can compact lava, flint, and gravel to make andesite. I'm going to use a mechanical belt to extend our existing belt like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a depot right here next to the belt. And that's where we're going to wash our gravel. Next, I'm going to make a smart chute. We can do that with electron tube, a chute, and then a brass sheet. And basically the smart chute will allow us to filter items just like the brass funnels. We're going to go ahead and put our smart chute above a chest that I put down here, right below the depot. And this is going to get all the iron nuggets that we're going to be washing. It's the same process as before, but it's a little bit more compact. I'll put an input funnel in for gravel and one for output of the flint like so. And make sure to apply the filter for the output so we don't accidentally get iron nuggets coming out. I also need to put a shaft in the middle of the belt here to power our gearbox, which is going to power another gearbox, which will hook up to our encased fan. I then surround the depot with some frame glass so we can put water on top of it right in front of the encased fan like so. Then I add a belt for our flint. We also need some lava, so I'm going to connect to the existing pipes that we had for the steam engine. Now we're going to need somewhere for our lava to go, so we can use 5 andesite alloy to craft a basin. And we'll go ahead and place this after our belt that has flint on it like so. Then we'll go ahead and connect the rest of our fluid pipe to the side of this basin, so that it can output the lava into it. we're going to add another brass funnel to the side of our basin like so, and flip it around so that it's actually picking up gravel from the belt on the right side. I make a bit of a mistake here. I put a mechanical mixer right here, but this should actually be a mechanical press, and I'll fix this later in the video. Next, we need to add some mechanical pumps because our lava can only flow 15 blocks. And as you can see here, the lava has actually stopped because that's 15 blocks, and we need an extra mechanical pump to make it go further. And once we give the mechanical pump some power, lava will start flowing again. Now, one thing to know is that when pipes split like this, you have to have a mechanical pump on either side, otherwise the lava won't go down both lengths. Now we can see that lava is flowing all the way to our basin, and we can now go ahead and get rid of our mechanical mixer and put our mechanical press there instead and hook up some power to it. Here, all we need to hook it up is a shaft and a gearbox like so. After putting a brass funnel on the flint side of the basin, we can now test it out and see that it is indeed working. Once we have enough gravel, flint, and lava in the basin, our mechanical press will actually move to create some andesite. And if we check our chest now, you can see we have some andesite here, which means that we now have successfully created an infinite source of andesite. Next, we're going to use an item frame and a brass sheet to create a placard. I like to use these to label what I have in different chests or containers. So here we can go ahead and grab some items. We're going to need iron nuggets and some cobblestone, because in the next step, we're going to create train tracks. Step 1 of that process is to turn our cobblestone into stone. For that, we're going to need brass tunnels, which require 2 brass ingots, 2 dried kelp, and 1 electron tube. For now, I'm just going to use this tunnel to cover our belt like so. Then we're going to go ahead and add some encased fans here on the side. I also doubled the size of our belts here and made both of them contain cobblestone instead of iron ingots and stone. Next, we're going to throw some lava on top of our belts here. If any items are under this lava on top of the belts, then it's going to get bulk blasted by the fans. So we can put some cobblestone in our chest to test this out. I'll go ahead and use this hand crank to just move the belts along a little bit. And now our cobblestone will be under the lava on the belt on the very far side to the left there, if you can see it. And it's currently being bulk blasted, and after a little while we can turn our hand crank again and we'll see that we got stone. Now the tunnels work very similar to brass funnels, so we can put a filter on these to prevent anything except stone to go through them. This will allow cobblestone to finish bulk blasting before they go through. I'm then going to go ahead and set up a saw on the other side like so, because we need to turn this stone into slabs for our train tracks. By default, the saw is just going to take a random recipe from the stone cutter, so we're just getting a bunch of random stone items here, but there we did get some slabs. And now that I do have some slabs, I can jump up here and change the filter to stone slabs, and that will make it so that we always make stone slabs with this saw. Now that that step is done, we can start building our machine that will actually assemble the train tracks. We will need 2 deployers that place iron nuggets or zinc nuggets on top of a stone slab, and then finally a mechanical press that presses everything together. So I've simply extended our belt out here from the saw and then put 2 deployers and a mechanical press on top of it like so. I'm then going to go ahead and put 2 chutes over the deployers as well as a chest. This can be shared since they both need the same material. Then I'm going to use a weighted ejector, which is going to throw our iron nuggets up on top of the belt here out to feed our deployers. And as you can see, the iron nuggets are now being thrown up on top of the belt. They will then go into the chest and fall down in through the chutes into our deployers. And as you can see, our deployers are already holding some iron nuggets in their hands. Now we should just be able to put some cobblestone back here in the chest, and we should start making train tracks. The cobblestone is now being blasted and turned into stone. Then our saw is turning that into slabs. We do have a little bug here with the tunnels. I'm just going to put a piece of bread on this filter so that no stone exits through that tunnel. But as you can see, 2 iron nuggets are being placed on each stone slab, and then it's being pressed into a train track. And we now have train track in our chest here. Next, we're going to create a honey farm. To do this, we just take some fluid pipe and stick it onto a bee's nest like so. We then need a mechanical pump to take the honey out of the bee's nest. And just like we did for the lava, we're going to place down some fluid tanks where our honey is going to get stored. And then I'll use a large cog to connect a water wheel to the mechanical pump, and we now have power. As soon as the bee's nest is full, we should pull some honey out of it. We can actually change the pipe here by right-clicking on it to see when honey is extracted. And there, our bee's nest is actually full now, and we should see honey extracting. There we go. This is going to be very slow with only one nest, but eventually we'll get a full 64 buckets of honey, but it'll just take a long time. We can use the same mechanical crafters we set up earlier to make an Extendo Grip. For this, we'll need a brass ingot, a precision mechanism, and 6 sticks, and then a brass hand at the bottom. Now, I turned on the power to the mechanical crafters, but it won't turn on unless we give it a redstone signal. This is because we have empty slots. There is also covers for the mechanical crafter that you could use if you don't want to give it a redstone signal. And there we go, we now have an Extendo Grip. Now, this can be placed in your offhand, and it will give you the ability to reach really far. So as you can see, we can flip this lever all the way from here. We can make a copper backtank using some copper ingots, a block of copper, andesite alloy, and a shaft. We can use this so that our Extendo Grip doesn't take any durability damage when using it. To fill the copper backtank with air, we need to give it rotational force at the top of the tank. As you can see here, the top is spinning and you see these air particles going in. That means that our tank is filling up. The back tank is full when the particles are gone, as you can see now. Then you can right click the tank to equip it to your chest slot. Using some glass and copper ingots, we can also make a diving helmet. This can be used with our back tank to stay underwater for prolonged periods of time. You'll want to equip your diving helmet in your head slot. We can go ahead and jump down into some water to test this out. You will now see a copper backtank symbol next to the bubbles at the bottom right. There is also a timer there that shows how much time I have left before the copper backtank runs out of air. While we're at it, we can also make some diving boots using copper ingots and andesite alloy. These diving boots actually have multiple uses, and you'll want to equip them on your feet slot. When equipped, they'll allow you to walk normally and stand still on belts. They also act as weights to allow you to walk normally underwater. So here I'm just jumping around, walking normally, just like I would on land. And I'm also unable to swim upwards. This could be great for an underwater base. For the next part of this video, we're going to need some extra storage. So I'm going to take some iron sheets and some barrels to make item vaults. We're finally going to process all the materials that we started emptying from our drill earlier. And to do this, I'm going to set up some belts with a brass funnel like so. We're also going to make use of a tunnel here for filtering. And I'm just going to split this off in 3 different directions. So we have 1 incoming belt and 2 outgoing. I'm also going to make use of some attribute filters. To make those, we're going to need 2 brass nuggets and a piece of wool. So with an attribute filter, we can filter items based on what type they are or what you can do with them. So for example, here we have can be crushed, can be smelted, smelted in a blast furnace, or was added by the create mod, and so on. And what I need for my stuff is I want can be smelted in a blast furnace. Because basically any ores, I want to just bulk blast to convert them to ingots. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So I go ahead and click add attribute here, and that will add it to my list of requirements for this filter. Then I'll add another attribute item for my finished items. Here we want to do the opposite attribute. So we click this button, which says cannot be smelted in a blast furnace. Then we can also do can be crushed, and we'll do cannot be crushed. So you see both of those attributes. And I'll go ahead and add that to the tunnel like so. Then we're going to go ahead and build our item vault. And these connect just like fluid tanks. And I'm going to make mine a 3x3. Next, we're going to set up some crushing wheels. I also have an attribute filter here for items that can be crushed. So those will go this way. Then I'm going to set up our bulk blasting section here. It's basically just going to be an encased fan with some lava in front of it. And that will make it shoot lava all the way forward down the belt. I also put another attribute filter here for items that cannot be blasted in a blast furnace. To power this machine, we're just going to take some power back from my house and just use a bunch of gearboxes and shafts to bring it all the way over. And now with some power, we can see everything running. So this is our blasting area. And if we're smart enough to get close, we'll actually catch on fire here. So we have to be a little bit careful. I was curious why I didn't take damage, but apparently my helmet has fire protection 4, so lucky me. I've removed the redstone signal from our brass funnel, and that put all the items on our belts now. So now you can see that it's running, although there is an error. Basically, this filter here for our inventory is wrong. It should be set to allow list all instead of allow list any, because it was currently only looking at one of the attributes. So by changing that, we can now get everything working correctly here. Since I'm just running items in a loop, we did get some congestion here. So to solve this issue, I'm going to go ahead and put an item vault right here. And this is going to serve as a sort of buffer for all the different items. And now we can see, although it's a little bit jittery, now we can finally see that the machine is running again and stuff is slowly being processed here. I also went ahead and put some brass funnels with some depots on our item vault, and this will allow us to extract specific items that we might want. So what I'm mostly interested in is copper ingots, iron ingots, and nether quartz. And this is what a basic ore processing facility looks like, mostly just to demonstrate what kind of stuff you could do if you wanted to. Now, using a redstone torch, a brass casing, and copper sheet, we can go ahead and make some display links. And then we can go ahead and make some display boards using some andesite alloy and an electron tube. And these will be used with the display link to show different information. You could also use a sign or Nixie tubes, but I chose to go with display boards. So we can just place these on our buffer here. I've extended the buffer a little bit. Right click with our display link like so on our display board. And then we'll jump up on top of our tunnel here and just place the display link down like so. And this is now connected to our display board. But for the display board to show any kind of information, we need to connect power to it. So to do that, I'm going to get some gears and just hook them up to the side like so. And then we can go back to our display link and right click on it, and we can show different types of information. So here, for example, I might want to show like item throughput. I'll do per hour. However, I think items are going through our tunnel a little bit too slow to actually show this, but we can give it a try. Here, I'm setting a label which acts as a prefix to whatever data we're displaying. So the data is just a number, and then we're going to put items per hour in front of it. And it should now work. But I think the throughput is a little bit slow, so we're not really getting the correct amount of items here. So I'm going to set it to total amount of items, but our board is a little bit too small here. So we can just go ahead and change the size of our display board. I had to change the cogs a little bit, but now we're getting the total amount of items processed by this tunnel. And that might be a little bit useful to us. You could also place the display link on all kinds of stuff, like a train station or in my case, a content observer, like so. I did right click on the display board before doing this, and we're just going to show the amount of matched items in here. And here you can see which items are currently in there. And now we're going to get started on a simple sugarcane farm. Now, in order to be planted, sugarcane needs to be placed next to water. So I've set that out, and I've dug a hole here in the middle to place our water wheel. And we can go ahead and flip that with our wrench, and then we'll put down some water to power this water wheel. Very similar to what we've been doing before. Oh, hey, Big Swedish.
Hey, I finished most of my preparations, and I think I'm actually quite ready to start setting up a train. Maybe working with sugarcane.
Yeah.
It seems to be going well. Are you sort of finalized as well? I actually do need some drills as well, so you don't mind if I take some of these, do you?
No, I mean, I guess not. No,
we're going to be building together. We
drills.
need to go on a long journey, tiles and whatnot. So, do you have a place where I could start building it as well? Designated area?
Sure. Yeah, I think I have a good place for a train. You can build it over here if you come this way. What do you think about this spot over here on the side? I think you could put the train here. I figured we'd just go this way, maybe. How does that sound?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can make that work. I might have to dig out a little bit, but this train should be able to handle it. I have a pretty good design in mind, and Yeah, I'll make this work. No worries. I think that'll be good.
Okay, great. Yeah. I'll continue working on the sugarcane farm then.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll let you know as soon as it's ready.
All right. See ya. Now, going back to our sugarcane farm, we can put down a clutch like so. And on top of that, we'll put down a mechanical bearing. Then I'm going to use some oak planks to build out a section like this. Then we can go ahead and put a chest on top of these. This is because our contraption needs some storage. Now I'm going to go ahead and place the mechanical harvesters on the side, like so. Then we'll remove this block right here, and then instead stick a portable storage interface right there. Now we can go ahead and use our super glue to glue everything together. Make sure to also glue the chest. We also need a chest where everything is going to be stored, so we'll place that down along with a chute underneath a portable storage interface like so, and then our contraption can now empty into it. If your contraption starts going the wrong way, just flip the water wheel and your contraption will go the right way again. And there we go. That's a working sugarcane farm. Now we're going to go ahead and make a seat. To do that, we need an oak slab or any kind of wood slab and some wool. And that makes a crate mod seat, which we can sit on, and also any mob, such as a cow, can sit on as well. And the easiest way to get a cow to sit on a seat is to use a lead. Right click on the cow, and then right click on the seat. And then we're just going to do that for all the cows here to set them up for our milk farm. Next, we're going to place some deployers like so, with one empty block between the cow and the deployer. And you want to make sure that the deployer is facing towards the cow like so, or basically poking the cow. You can test if your setup is done right by giving the deployer an empty bucket, and then you should see it milking the cow. I set up another 3 deployers to do the same thing for the 3 other cows, and then I just built a little structure here with some oak planks, basically to hold our mechanical arm that we'll place later. On the back of each deployer, I'll place some brass funnels, and then also place a belt that goes in a loop behind them. On each of the filters, I'm placing a full milk bucket, because that's what we want to be extracting from the deployers. Next, I'm going to set up our mechanical arm to deposit items into each deployer. This will allow our mechanical arm to pick up empty buckets from the belt. And to make that happen, I want to make sure that I tell it to pick up items from the belt right here, and then I'll just place this up in the roof, like so. Now I want to set the filter of each deployer to an empty bucket. This is to ensure that the mechanical arm is always inputting the correct item into our deployers. Now we can test that this works by placing an empty bucket on the belt like so, and we should now see a milk bucket come out on the belt, and it does. We can use some copper casing and some iron bars to make an item drain that will empty our bucket automatically. So I'm going to remove some of the belt I'd put down earlier and place our item drain right here. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a belt on the other side. This works similar to how the saw works. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a cog on each belt like so, and in the middle I'm going to put a mechanical pump. And we now have power to both our belts and also power to the mechanical pump. And after putting down a fluid tank, we're ready to test our machine to see if it's working. And there we go. Milk is now being emptied, it goes through our pipe, and it's being put into the fluid tank. Now we're going to go ahead and build a cocoa farm. So I put down a water wheel, and I made a quite large structure like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and place some mechanical harvesters on the side of our blocks like so. And then we're going to go ahead and glue this entire thing like so. You can also see that I'm making use of the Extendo Grip here actually. So this is something I have in my offhand to enable me to reach further. I also needed some chests and a portable storage interface. We also need somewhere for this contraption to unload, so I put up a chest like so. I'm actually going to remove the chest on this side and place the chest here instead so that we can put our stockpile switch like so, and that allows it to turn on and off the clutch without needing a redstone link. Next, place some jungle trees right next to the 3x3 hole we have for the water wheel like so. And we're just going to go ahead and build this up as tall as the contraption is, like so. And then we'll place another jungle tree 1 block out, just like so. And you could add more trees here if you wanted to. As you can see, I've already built 4 of them. We can then use cocoa seeds to make cocoa pods, just like so. And this is the right position for our harvesters to reach them. The setup here doesn't really matter as long as the harvesters can reach the cocoa pods. Here's the final look at my setup. And as the cocoa pods are fully grown, they'll be harvested, just like so. We can connect some fluid pipes and a spout to our fluid tank with milk in it. This will allow us to make sweet rolls by placing some bread under our spout. So I'm just going to take 3 pieces here and place them down. And we now have sweet rolls. Our honey farm has been running for a little while, so we can actually do the same thing for honey as we did with milk. So once again, some fluid pipe, a spout, and a mechanical pump. We've actually only gathered 14 buckets of honey, but it's enough to demonstrate what we're going to do here. So we'll go ahead and let this fill up a little bit with honey, just like so. And now that it's full, I'm going to put some apples on the depot here. And you can see honey is being placed on our apple to make honeyed apples. And now you have 2 new foods that you can eat while playing with the crate mod. Now we're going to take the first step towards making a train by making some powdered obsidian. So we'll set the filter on this brass funnel to be powdered obsidian right there. And then we can flip this lever to see if there's any powdered obsidian in our system, and we did have 2. However, we might need a little bit more, so we're going to take some obsidian that we have and throw it on the belt here, and that's going to get crushed by the crushing wheels. And if we look at the recipe here, we have a 75% chance to get obsidian back, and then a 100% chance to get powdered obsidian. So 31 obsidian is probably going to generate quite a lot of powdered obsidian. Now we're ready to make some sturdy sheets, so I'm going to go ahead and set up a belt that's 5 in width, and then have a brass funnel with a chest on each side. Then I'm going to place a spout and 2 mechanical presses above the belt, and get some lava from our existing pipe system over there. Once I have that set up, I just need to power our pumps because the length is longer than 15, so the lava is not going to flow all the way unless we get some pump power here. We'll wait a little bit for the spout to fill with lava. As you can see, it's slowly filling here. I'm also going to go ahead and set this brass funnel to 1. We could use an andesite funnel here instead, but this will also work. It's just because we're only going to do 1 obsidian powder at a time anyways, so why not change it? Now we can put some obsidian powder in our chest here, and that will make some sturdy sheets. So first it's pouring lava on the powdered obsidian, then it's pressing the obsidian twice to make sturdy sheets. The only bottleneck is our lava. But opening our chest, you'll see that we now have 10 sturdy sheet. So we can take those, and then we can make some train casings. And to make some train casings, we need to put down some brass casings and just hit them with our sturdy sheet, just like so. And then right click with the wrench to pick them up. Using a compass and a train casing, we can make a train station. Then to build our train, we're also going to need some train controls. So using a precision mechanism, a train casing, and a lever, we can make these train controls. Now let's place down some of the train track that we made earlier. To do this, you just right click on the ground, then right click the existing track while holding track in your hand to bring up this interface to place more track. By holding some blocks in our offhand, we can also automatically place blocks underneath our track when there is empty space. So as you can see here, I have some oak planks in my offhand, and I'm going to go ahead and place some track right here. And you'll now see that oak planks are going to be automatically placed underneath our track, just like so. Right click with a wrench to remove track. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend our existing track a little bit so we have somewhere to go with our train that we're going to build. Then I'm going to place our train station by first right clicking on the track where we want the trains to stop, and then right clicking to place down the train station next to it. To make our first train, we need to right click on the train station and click on Create New Train, and this will start the assembly process. Currently, there will be some information that says we don't have any boogies or anything. That's because we haven't built our train. So to place down a boogie, we need to right click on the track where it's blue here with the train casing, just like so. Then we can go ahead and attach some blocks to this boogie, just like so. And I'm also going to jump up. We'll put down a block here, and then we can jump up on top of the train. And here I'm going to make a seat with a wood slab and some wool, just like so. A seat is pretty important when making a train because otherwise you'll typically just lag off the train while you're riding it. Next, we're going to go ahead and put a little chest back here just for decoration. And then finally, we need some train controls. And I'm just going to place them here at the front. You want to make sure that these are facing in this direction if that's the front of your station. That's very important when you're assembling your train. You could, however, have train controls facing in both directions if you wanted to. But that's the basics of building a train. Then we just need to use some super glue to glue everything together. Now we can go ahead and click assemble in our station, and you'll now see that our train is assembled. We can also go ahead and give the train a name. So I'm going to just call this train number 1. Then I'll go ahead and hit enter to save that and then click the check mark. And now to ride on our train here, we can right click the seat and then right click the train controls to start driving. So in the same way that you move your character in Minecraft, you use WASD to control the train. So here I'm pressing S to go backwards, and then I'm going to press A to go forwards again. And we can keep going back and forth if we wanted to. And then when you want to stop at the train station, just hold space to go back and stop at the station.
Hey Uber, I finished putting together a train and it's ready to go.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, you can go.
So then we can make the large trip.
Exactly. We can get the achievement, make the whole journey. You can have a look at the train, see how it looks, give your final approval. I did kind of run low on supplies when I was actually, going through, well, just making the train essentially. So you don't mind if I go through some of your chests and kind of resupply, do you?
No, not at all. Feel free to.
Awesome.
You know where they are, right?
Yeah, I should be able to find my way through it. No worries.
Okay, yeah. I'll go over and check out the train then.
Sounds good.
So back there we have our cargo carriage, which I guess will hold train tracks and oak planks. Then we have a little passenger carriage here with some red seating, looking very nice. And at the front here we have what looks to be a regular steam locomotive. But at the front here, it has a huge plow with drills on it. It even has a small drill here at the top to make room for the roofs of the train. Here it is from the other side, just to get a view from another angle. The idea here is that these drills are going to mine out everything in front of us as we make the field trip achievement. Oh, hey, Big Swedish. I like the red seats back here.
Yeah, thanks.
So, who's going to drive this thing? Can I drive it?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I wouldn't mind just tagging along and letting you take the wheel.
All right, awesome, sweet. So low power now to let the drills run, I guess.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, this thing does have some experimental features, so yeah, take it nice and easy, and we should get there in one piece.
Okay, sweet. We finally made it. 5,000 blocks.
Ah.
So we get the field trip achievement.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, finally time to stretch my legs.
Where are you going to go stretch your legs?
Thanks for all the achievements. I just need to set.
Why is there TNT there?
Well, there's multiple things that we need to have happen here.
Why do you have a flint and steel? How far back does that TNT? Oh my god.
It's been a fun journey, and thanks for the achievement.
Well, I think that's going to be the end to this very short 2-part series. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a like. And if you want to see more of my videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, did you notice any of the clues that showed what BigSwedish was up to? There should have been 3 clues, and if you found all of them, I would love it if you left a comment down below along with the timestamps. It would be really interesting to see who finds all the clues first. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, but it's a really nice train carriage. I like the red seats. Very, very nice interior. So, yeah, do you mind if I drive this?
No, I mean, feel free to. You can have him as company. I'll eat right behind. I'll sit a little bit back there, but we can still kind of talk through the. Well, I mean, it's gonna close off, so maybe I can just install another seat or something, or maybe this guy should get booted out of the train.
I think if you just click the seat, you'll take it from him. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's not gonna be safe.
Oh my god. Oh, sir, please take a seat. Please, no, don't look at me like
I think
that.
maybe he just wants you to start driving. Maybe we'll just we'll let him handle whatever happens afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Time to start driving.